interview for our story about kids kind of being in limbo, families being in limbo about what they're going to do in the fall for their children. And as you know, a lot of kids have been home for 4 or 5 months now, and some are starting to get a little restless from what the parents were telling us. So first of all, ma'am, can you just please tell me your first and last name again and spell it for me, and then give me your title, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chelsea Mier, Chelseameier, and my title is a child and family therapist.
Perfect. And thank you again for joining me. So, Chelsea, now, what have you noticed, or what have some of the families been telling you over the past few months? A lot of parents say they're worried about their child's mental health, because they're away from their friends, they're not around people their age, and they're just kind of concerned how it can affect their development. So what have you noticed?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I hear a lot from families is, one, being overwhelmed trying to wear all of the hats now as homeschoolers, as a lot of times employees working from home, and then parents, and feeling really overwhelmed with all the responsibilities that go along with that. And now kind of looking at the school year for the fall and wondering how they're going to pick those hats back up again and maybe attempt to do homeschooling at home again. Other concerns I hear is all the extra contact that families are having together at home is making, creating more opportunities for frustrations, contention between siblings, and again, parents trying to manage what has been struggles for individual kids and struggles for themselves, right, as individuals. So managing their own mental health, and then of course managing the mental health of their kids, and trying to figure out how to do that best at home. Other concerns that I hear is, the social interaction. We're all feeling it, right? Less time spent with people that we care about, engaging in activities outside of the home that we used to find a lot of enjoyment in, and a lot of opportunities to get all that energy out, especially for little kids. So yeah, I hear those concerns as well. And then, a natural worry about, are my kids, especially younger ones, going to hit those important developmental milestones for developing those skills for engaging in relationships that they're going to need, right, as they get older. And younger kids and older kids used to spend a lot more time interacting with kids at school and in extracurricular activities. And so there's just less of those opportunities. Parents feel like there's less of those opportunities at home. So those are definitely the most common concerns that I hear coming up.
Okay, and you're just freezing just a tad, but it's not too bad. But another question
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit though, but it's not too bad. Just another question that I had for you is, what are some coping mechanisms that parents can use, especially if your children are home, they miss their friends, and they're anxious about not knowing if they're going back to school at the end of the summer?
Yeah, so I have a helpful acronym for that. So I recommend to do your best. So that's a BEST, B being try to find that balance, balance out the negative with opportunities to celebrate your successes as a family, to highlight the things that you're doing well, to find opportunities to connect and still enjoy the things that we're able to do with social distancing or quarantining, sending letters to loved ones, having Zoom calls, FaceTime calls, being able to connect, even if it's at a park outdoors. I have a lot of families who still bring their kids to have play dates, but they're just socially distanced play dates, right? Where there's that 6 feet of distance, masks if needed, where, we're still able to enjoy some positive moments and some moments of fun. The next recommendation I have is expressing feelings and needs. So this kind of addresses the concerns that families have about limited social contact that kids are having, and the concern about them maybe not developing that skill set for relationship building and interacting. As long as kids are learning how to express their feelings and needs to others, and understanding when others are communicating their feelings and needs to them. That is the foundation of healthy relationships, the most important skills that you could hope your kids to develop. So that can absolutely happen at home. And if anything, now that kids are at home more often, parents get to be a bigger part in that process of them learning how to communicate their needs and to better manage and understand the needs of others, and how to compromise and problem solve and all that stuff that comes up with that sibling conflict that's just naturally more common now with more time spent together. So I think that will help ease a lot of families' concerns about kids not being able to spend time with other kids as much. And then the S is for scheduling, structures, flexible routines, right? You're rolling your eyes a little bit because we're all kind of like, oh, yes, well, sometimes scheduling and structure can feel confining and maybe like a burden that, oh, I don't want to have to schedule out the day for my kids every day. But if you can find a little bit of consistency for your family, believe it or not, it helps relieve a lot of anxiety for kids. And schools naturally have a lot of routines and structures built into them. And there's a reason for that. And one of the big reasons is because kids are more successful when they have a plan that they can follow. And the same applies at home. So find a schedule that fits for you. I say fit in some flexibility there, because you don't want your schedule to be too rigid, because then it is just going to feel like you're adding one more thing as a parent that you have to stress about, or you have to have more opportunities to have arguments maybe about the routine. But build in some flexibility, but try to find some consistency. You can schedule in electronic time, you can schedule in quiet time, reading time, time to come together as a family and have fun, maybe times when kids are playing more independently and having their own time. You can build in those pockets of time and activities throughout the day. And that, I think, will help all the tasks and responsibilities that parents have right now feel a bit more manageable. And then the last thing I recommend, and it's the biggest one that I recommend for all the families I work with, is tuning in to the present moment using mindfulness. A big, big fan. I instruct all the families that I work with on mindfulness techniques. Those I find to be the most helpful coping skills. And there's a ton of science to back up the efficacy of mindfulness. Not only does it help with managing anxiety, helps to better regulate our fight or flight responses to stress, which we're all experiencing a little bit more of now. But it also helps to sift through all the things that we worry about that have already happened that we don't have control over, and all the things that we worry about in the future that, again, we don't have a lot of control over, and just tuning in to the present moment. And chances are, in those 5, 10, 20 minutes where you have a chance to just tune into this moment, you'll probably realize that you're doing okay, right? And that things are feeling okay. And those little chunks of time that we can build into the day where we can have some peace and kind of hit a reset button. So I find mindfulness to be super helpful. And yeah, if you can download an app on your phone, if you can participate in a mindfulness meditation via a Zoom meeting or watch a YouTube video, or just really just take 5 or 10 minutes to just take some long, calming, deep breaths, you are on the track to having better coping skills for managing stress that comes up.
So mindfulness is really being mindful of the present and not focusing so much on the future.
Exactly.
Don't be anxious about what's going to happen in 6 weeks. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Let's just focus on right now and how we can be happy in this moment.
Yeah, and that really helps families prioritize too, because again, wearing all of these hats as a homeschooler, as an employee, as a parent, it's going to feel like you've got a lot of stuff piling up that you need to do. But what you might find with the art of just tuning in to this moment is that there's actually probably only this much that you have to worry about right now. And all that other stuff is either not something you need to worry about yet or something that's out of your control. And it's really just a waste of energy to be worrying about it, stressing about it. So yeah, I find it helpful for kids and adults. And I instruct everyone on mindfulness techniques that they can use.
So that's like general advice. Mindfulness. It's not
Yes.
just for kids. Okay, that's great, because that was another one of my questions, like what can people do generally? So that was good. That was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another question I have, and I don't know if you would be able to answer this, is what's, you know, the science, what's going on in someone's head when you know, they, especially a kid, when they're isolated or when they're off their routine or when they're not in school or when they don't have contact with friends, what could be going on in someone's head?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on what they're doing to fill up that time. So I can say electronic time is something we're all doing a lot more of right now, like right with Zoom and the internet and social media. And when we're using a lot of electronics, it is activating our brain and kind of it's stimulating our brain in a way that we might feel like is relaxing, but actually a lot of science shows that it makes it harder to fall asleep at night. It makes it harder to relax, to be in the present moment, because we've been kind of inserted and absorbed in these electronics. So that could be coming up for a lot of people. Another thing too is that with more alone time, sometimes comes more thinking and more worrying, because instead of talking it out and interacting with other people, we might be kind of sitting in our own thoughts, stewing on some things, which again is why I say being able to practice those coping skills of deep breathing and being in the present moment actually gets us out of that unnecessary thinking that can be very overwhelming and very exhausting and draining. Um, so that's a technique that I think helps a lot for kind of getting us out of our heads, which might be happening for a lot of people with more of that alone time. And then naturally, a lot of anxiety. There's so much uncertainty about the future. We don't know really what school is going to look like in a lot of districts and for a lot of kids. And not just school, but all the other day-to-day things that have changed so much and might continue to change. So again, just remembering that so much of this stuff is outside of our control, and you as a family have a lot of things within your sphere of control, a lot of things within your home that you have some ability to change and to focus on and to prioritize as a family, and to really tune into each other and what you all want to your experience together be like during quarantining or social distancing. So I think families should have some more time to sit down and talk together about what they want their day-to-day lives to look like right now as we're continuing to adjust to all these changes.
All right. And I just had like a couple more questions on my
Sure.
list. I'm sorry,
No,
but
no,
you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. So general advice. Mm, okay. All right. And then last question. How are you dealing with all this? How are you doing with all these changes and this world that we're living in right now? That was
yeah,
just
a
a question that I wanted to throw
good
in.
question. Yeah, so for me, it's really about teasing apart what are the things that are in my realm of control and what is not. Um, I think that when we really sit back and reflect on the world in general and the things that have always been out of our control and uncertain, it helps COVID-19 and all the things happening with it seem a bit more manageable and not so foreign to us, right? There's always been this possibility of big things happening in the world that might have an implication on your daily life. And yet we choose to tune out most of that stuff and really just tune into our day-to-day lives, our relationships, our careers, the things that we're passionate about. And those priorities still remain. And so for me as a practitioner, I still maintain that focus on working with my families, feeling like I'm providing them the support that's going to be most helpful, and then doing the things that I think help manage my own mental health. And that's a whole bunch of mindfulness. And so now more than ever, I really can experience the benefits of that. And I get to see the benefits that families get to take from that as well.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you would like to add to tell these families or to tell these children that might be feeling anxious or that just kind of might have a lot on their mind right now?
Yeah. Be compassionate to yourself. I think that's why that acronym of BEST is helpful, because you just do the best you can. You don't have to be the best parent, homeschooler. Right now, it's really just about what is in our capacity to do. And we have some limitations that have come up with social distancing and quarantining and such. So be kind to yourself. Understand that you're not going to be able to do it all. And just to take one day at a time, because this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We've probably got some time to go before things really get back to maybe feeling the way that they were feeling 6 months ago. So just take it day to day. Try not to project too far into the future. Really just tune into the present moment when you can, and find those little moments of peace and opportunities to celebrate the successes that you've had as an individual and as a family.
All right. Thank you. That was
Yeah.
amazing. I really appreciate
Thanks.
it. This will help a lot of people. It's going to go in my story, and I will email you. I think the story will actually be premiering on our Sunrise show at 5:30 and 6:30
Nice.
on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
So,
Okay, cool.
yes, and that's 5:30, 6:30 a.m. And then it'll be on throughout the day as well. And I'm the Sunrise reporter, so I'm on Monday through Friday, 5:30 and 6:30.
Nice. Well, can I ask you a couple questions too? I wanted to know how you heard about my practice.
I Googled. I was
Okay,
Googling.
nice.
Yeah, I was Googling because they assigned this story to me and they told me, well, we need an expert. We need somebody like a therapist that can talk about, what kids are going through or what families are dealing with. So I just Googled
Oh,
and I
great.
found
Yeah,
you.
nice. Yeah, and then I wanted to know, will the clip be like on YouTube or viewable outside
Yes,
of? Nice.
definitely. It'll be on our website, kgw.com,
Nice.
and it will be, because I'm going to do a TV story and I'm going to do a web article for the website. So I'm going to write like a web story too, and we're going to premiere it live, and then we're going to post the story on our website under the web article. So you'll have it all just right there.
Oh, okay, cool. And then that first part where I was talking, was it real glitchy? Like, do we need to
Oh
redo
no,
it?
it was just a little bit, but since that's why I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions. Basically what I'm going to do is take it's only about a minute 30 stories. So I have the parents
Oh, okay.
talking about their concerns and sound bites with them, like 10-second sound bites. And then what I'm going to do is probably use 2 10-second sound bites of what you were talking about and just kind of
Mhm.
sum most of it up. But I'm going to try to use the most important things of what you were saying. So maybe the best acronym, like the tips that you were giving me,
Yeah,
I'll probably just summarize those and use a SOT
sure.
from that. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
summarize something else you said and then use a soundbite from that. So I won't even use the whole interview, but I'm just going to summarize what you said and use sound bites.
All right, perfect. Yeah.
And I will
Well,
email you the story. It'll be on Tuesday. Can you hear me?
oh, it just glitched for like a second.
It does that sometimes, but yes, it will be on
Oh,
Tuesday,
yeah,
and
it
I'll
does. I
email
know. I
you.
do all of my sessions via Zoom now, so used
Yeah,
to the
it's kind
glitches.
of the new way of the world.
Yeah, it is.
But thank you so
Okay,
much.
nice.
And if I have any other questions, I have your number in your email, so I'll just give you a call.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Brian, and have a good rest of your day.
You too. So yeah, I'll be emailing you the story next Tuesday.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.